Whenever we were looking for a homestead, there's a lot of questions you've got to ask, and we had to ask ourselves a lot of things. And some of the questions we had really had nothing to do with the homestead. Sometimes to be able to get other family members to want to do certain things, you've got to throw in other compromises, stuff like that. Like for example, my wife, ever since I've known her, she's always wanted to live somewhere kind of close to the coast. That's been one of the things that she's wanted to be able to do. And so that was one of the things that we had to check off on our list whenever we were trying to find a location for a homestead. For a lot of people, that's not important. Other people, it may have to do with the weather. I'm not going to name the couple, but we want to be somewhere where it's warm. But this other couple wanted somewhere where it was cooler. And to us, that doesn't make any sense, but to them, it does. And I guess they don't like hot weather. I mean, I'm not real crazy about it either, but we wanted somewhere where it was warmer. And so there's certain things that you got to look at. We wanted a long growing season, but we also were looking at other things. There's some couples that want to be off-grid. For us, that was not something that wasn't a huge high priority. Right now, for me personally, just because of where technology is, I've got a background in technology, and it's computer science. So I mean, I don't know a lot about hardware kind of stuff, but just from reading some journals and reading some articles, stuff like that, solar seems to still be a few years off before it's really economical for somebody to go that route. And I'm like, hey, if I'm going to be off grid, I've got to have solar, and it's got to make sense to go with solar. And for me, my personal choice was that it wasn't reasonable yet to be 100% off the grid. Well, behind me, hopefully you can see, we've got electrical lines. You may be able to point those out.
It might be hard to see, but anyway, there's electrical poles back there.
Those are about 300 feet from where we plan on building our house. That shouldn't be any problem whatsoever to bring that in to here. We had no problems with drilling a well. If we had to do that, we would. The piece of property that we chose, actually it has city water. So we're perfectly fine with that. We'll go ahead and tap into that. We don't have to drill a well. Maybe sometime in the future, just have a backup well or something like that, maybe. But it's great to have that option of, hey, to hook up to the city. And so we'll end up doing that. I do eventually, getting back to the electricity thing though, I do eventually would like to be off-grid or to be net zero. In other words, to where we're able to have solar panels to where we are, we're generating enough electricity to be able to take care of ourselves. So if something happens where the grid goes down or whatever. Battery technology is still not where it needs to be, where it's really economical for a common person to do it. It's getting closer. I see articles almost weekly on Slashdot and on other networks that talk about how much closer they're getting, new research that they've done, that they've been able to make it more efficient. So I see this being viable in 10 years and being cheap. Right now, I think that it isn't really there yet. So we're going to hook up to the electric grid. And then as solar panels get cheaper, we'll probably hook up those, try to let one of our first goals to be net zero, to where what we're producing on our solar panels supplies our house and maybe even feeds back into the grid for some of our neighbors. Once we get there and we see that battery technology gets really cheap, then we'll probably have a battery backup so that if the grid goes down, we're still in good shape for several days. And then as battery technology gets even cheaper, maybe we'll set a goal for a week to be completely off grid if we need to, and maybe longer as batteries get cheaper. The reason why I say this, to cut this short, try to cut it short to get to the main point, is it's not an off and on switch. There's things that you can do, there's things that you can look at to say, let's take these baby steps. What about Bob? Let's take baby steps to the goal. You don't have to go out and spend $20,000, $30,000 for a solution to get completely off the grid today. Do a little bit of research, find out that, hey, first we can do this, then whenever certain events happen, in other words, whenever certain technologies get cheap enough, then you buy this. and you slowly move in that direction. And that's what we plan on doing. I would like to eventually be 100% off the grid, but I don't see that happening right now, and for it to be a reasonable price to be able to do that. So if you're thinking about trying to go off grid, if you're thinking about trying to create your own homestead, think about those things. You might find out that, hey, yeah, let's do what's economical, what makes sense right now, and just slowly move in that direction. It can be a long-term goal. It doesn't have to be something that you try to complete by the end of the year or by the end of the month, but it's something you can see yourself doing in the next 5, 10, 15 years.
So we'll have power and water from the city, and what about sewage?
Oh, good point. I forgot to bring that up. We do not have sewage from the city, so we will put in a sewage system. The basic sewage, the technology's been the same for decades. That's the thing that really hasn't changed a whole lot. Now, of course, the sewage expert's gonna, hey, no, that's not true. I'm not a sewage expert, but the general things to produce that is not really hasn't changed a whole lot. And it's cheap. It's cheap compared to other technologies, and that probably isn't going to like cut. The price isn't going to cut in half in the next 10 years. You've still got the cost of the pipe. You've still got the cost of the containment system for the sewage, and then you've got the runoff from that, and then you've got the manpower to go in to produce that. That really isn't going to get any cheaper. So we're going to put in a sewage system, and then we're done with that. That's going to be a solution for us that's probably going to last us for decades. Anything else?
I think that's it.
Okay. All right. See you next time.